Just what a great day. I mean, always an exciting day, nerve-wracking day, all of that part of it. But these young men, they've worked so hard. Their families have worked so hard to achieve this goal and the opportunity to extend their playing careers, but also extend their uh, their education and growing as this happens. And so, our coaches, I'm extremely proud of them and the work that they put into it and how diligent they've been in creating this class and developing this class. And so, to add these 12 guys today, obviously we've got another signing day coming up, and we'll add additions to it. But this is a great start to this signing class. Was really able to address some of the needs that we have that are coming up with guys that are leaving and graduating and moving on. And so, uh, adding a couple of linemen in this class to continue to keep building. Everything always starts up front. We have that theory around here, big guys rule the world, and we've got to continue to keep having great offensive linemen and defensive linemen. So we've been able to add some depth to the offensive line. We'll add a few more as we continue to go. Same thing defensively with Ty Newhouse, a kid out of Kansas that has had a tremendous career there, not only on the football field, but also on the wrestling mat. But a guy that has come to camp and really done an outstanding job for us. We're excited to add him to it. We'll add some more defensive linemen as we continue to work our way through. Added, with four of our linebackers now that are fixing to graduate and move on. To be able to add these two linebackers in, Zach Nielsen is a kid from Australia that we were able to see in camp, that he came across, a guy that's a little bit older, but a guy that can really run. He's got great cover skills. He comes downhill. He really tackles out in open space. And so we're excited about what he's going to bring. And then, just locally here, Eli McWilliams, just a guy with a ton of length, explosive, does a good job into coverage, but just has got a great football IQ, got a great mentality about himself. And so we're excited to add him to what our linebacker core and their group is going to be. Nunu Campbell, who has been fantastic, has had a fantastic career at Holland Hall over the last couple of years, just got through winning him a state championship. But this guy, he brings energy, brings effort. Again, he came to camp, and just having the opportunity to sit down and visit with him, work with him, watch him go through drills. This is a guy that is hungry to be great. And we know he's got a great base coming from where he comes from at Holland Hall, but then add him to what we've got in the secondary. And this guy we think is going to be a really special player before his career is over. Going back to the offensive side of it, those receivers that are coming in, we've got four of them. We've got a JC receiver and Nick, who will add depth immediately to what we do, have an opportunity, be here in January, and a guy that really is explosive, in and out of cuts, has a great catch radius, feel like we can play him inside or outside, but a guy that I think brings some talent in, number one, but also just brings some experience to this group. And then the three young ones, all of them got great size. They can play inside or outside. They're in and out of cuts again. Most of those guys came to camp. We were able to work with them and kind of see their competitiveness, getting off of man coverage, being able to settle in some things. And so that is going to be a tremendous get for us as you see the years to come and what they're going to be able to produce and do in our program. And then not last here, we with Adam's departure, we've added a long snapper from Alabama, a guy that was a defensive linebacker. So this guy's a football player and then also snaps, but is going to do our snapping duties here. Feel really good about what he brings, just the mentality that he will bring to that position, the athleticism that he'll bring to that position. And nobody wants to talk about the long snapper until he snaps one over his head or puts one dribbling back there on the ground. And so how important those guys are to what we do, and we've been blessed to have Adam for as long as we've had. And then last but not least, Cordell, the quarterback that we're signing out of Houston Westfield, just a dual threat guy, a guy that can do so many things with the football in his hands, got a tremendous arm. But I think the thing that Cordell does probably that really set the tone for us is just how competitive he is. Whether that was at camp this summer, whether that's watching him through some of the drill work that we did, and then turning on the tape and watching what he did at Westfield. And so this is a great class. This is a great start to what this class is going to continue to grow and be. But we are tremendously excited about all of them.
Coach, I've always said for TU to be successful, you've got to recruit Oklahoma, Texas, and Brisbane, Australia. So tell me how you got this Nielsen guy.
You know, it's a really unique story. There was a group of international players that kind of did the camp circuit, and we were able to spot him at one of those camps, and he came to our camp as well. And it was just him and his mother kind of making this tour. But you know, he was one of those guys that just kind of caught your eye, just with the twitchiness that he had, being able to get in and out of cuts, the mentality and that he had. And then when you sat down and really talked to him, kind of his background, because he was originally born in New Mexico, and then their family moves to Australia when he was pretty young. And, you know, so he's a dual citizenship kid, but, you know, he spent the majority of his life over there. And so, unique situation, but we feel like we got a great combination type back, a guy that can play the star, could play the wheel, could play in the box or outside of the box just because of his athleticism. I wish I would have got to do a home visit over in Australia, but I didn't get to do that. He's invited us, but we hadn't made that happen yet.
Yeah, get with Rick about that recruiting budget.
Yeah, right.
Good thing you're familiar with Zoom now.
Yeah.
You kind of in that same vein, you know, there was a time at TU when the philosophy of recruiting was the tank of gas, you know, wherever you kind of recruited in the area where you could drive in the tank of gas. You obviously have kind of embraced a more regional and international kind of vibe. Do you kind of feel like your best path to success is spreading out a little more than just the state here?
Yeah, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, we really tried to expand our recruiting footprint. And, you know, obviously Oklahoma and Texas are going to be probably the two main states, obviously. But as you look at it, we've gotten into Louisiana, we've gotten into Kansas, we've gotten a little bit into Arkansas. And so we've started expanding a little bit more, obviously, with Zoom and you know, social media and all the different components that kind of goes into. But if you look at these 12 guys, I think, and I don't want to get this wrong, but I think probably 10 of those 12 all came to our camp, and we were able to work with and put through drills and do that. Kids are out moving around a little bit more. And I think after last year with COVID, just the way recruiting went, so many guys were more willing to get out and go travel and get to camps and get around coaches, and because we weren't being able to get out in the spring and go visit them. So they did a better job of coming and visiting camps, and that helps us as we start to break down guys and be able to evaluate them.
Kind of as we get farther away from hopefully through the pandemic and everything, do you think that'll still be a holdover? Or do you think, you know, 2 Oklahoma kids out of 12 is kind of where it won't be a surprise coming forward, or do you think it'll kind of even out a little more?
No, I think, you know, we're always going to start in the state, and we're going to recruit this state heavily, just like we always have, and continue to keep adding those guys to our roster. You know, we've offered a lot of kids from this state, and so have other people. And so it's a competitive business, and you want to make sure that you're on the right ones and continuing to recruit this area, because we know there's great football and great coaches here. So we've got to continue to keep doing that. And then as guys make certain decisions or whatever, some of them may want to come back home and get a little bit closer to home. And so, you know, we'll always have the opportunity to evaluate and go from there.
You guys are kind of in a unique situation here in that you have a bowl game, just days away.
Right.
Is it harder to recruit when you have this signing day coming up here on the 15th? You have a bowl game on the 20th. Is it kind of a challenge for you guys getting ready for the bowl or for recruiting?
Yeah, it definitely added some different factors and variables to it. You know, I think there's so many deals that are going on right now. Obviously, you know, we've got the bowl game. You got signing day today. We got finals going on. You're working through schedules. We actually leave for the bowl tomorrow. And so it's been a hectic couple of weeks right here. as you're kind of pushing towards this finish line. But, that's just part of it. I think, our guys are excited about the bowl game. Obviously, we as a staff, and I think these young men are excited about this signing day and what this class is going to bring. And so the future is bright. We just got to continue to keep building.
Is 12 a good number for you early signing day wise? I know, it's been less than that typically, I think, in the last couple of years. That gives you some flexibility, but it also gets the bulk of your class in tow.
Yeah, I think that's a good number, especially for us this year, because you're still dealing with some of that. You've got your super seniors that are going to be moving on. You've got your seniors that potentially could be. Obviously, the transfer portal is part of all of that part. And so as you try to figure out your numbers and what it looks like and developing that part of it, I think 12 was a good start for us right now, and then give us the opportunity to go back out in January and work through the 1st of February to kind of see exactly where we need to kind of put an emphasis, continue to keep building, continue to keep working towards, and making sure that we're on the right guys and the guys that we need that are going to continue to elevate our program.
You mentioned those super seniors. I know last year it was a first trying to figure out recruiting with who's going to stay. And have you been able to get a better handle on it now that this is the second year it's come around, and has it gotten any easier to deal with that?
I don't know that it's gotten easier, Nathan, but we've at least been through it once, and we've got at least an idea of what it's going to look like. Last year was just so outside of the box, and you're just kind of, working your way through it, and every day it kind of changed a little bit. And so at least we've got an idea. I think the guys understand it a little bit more too, and as they kind of sit down to make decisions about what they want to do and what direction they want to head, whether that's, take that step to the next level and have that opportunity, or maybe that's I've got my degree, football has been great, I've loved my experience, yet, do I really want to go through another off season? Do I want to go through all of that part of it? I'm ready to go out and get in the professional world and start my career and do those things. So lots of different variables in this problem or equation that you're working through. And so I think 12, again, going back to that, is a good start for us to kind of see where we're at, knowing that we need to add in certain areas, and then being able to build off of that.
I made a comment last year about Allie Green. I know he's not here, so we won't harp on it, but I said nobody's a bigger Allie Green fan than Allie Green. I think nobody's a bigger Nunu Campbell fan than Nunu Campbell. I've loved talking to him. He seems really confident. Can you maybe speak on that confidence? And it's not arrogance, but you have to have a little bit of that as defensive back. But can you maybe speak on that and just how that kind of carries over into the position he's playing?
Yeah, he is. He's confident in himself and his abilities, and that's what you're looking for in those DBs. They're out there on islands by themselves, and there's going to be opportunities for them to go make plays. They're going to get beat every once in a while, but you've got to line back up and say the next play is going to be mine, and be confident enough to know that you can handle that. Nunu is one of those guys that he can talk ball with you. He loves having conversations. He's got a smile that lights up the room, but he has that air about him that he's going to put in the work, going to put in the time, and he loves to compete, and he loves to go against people.
He's one of my favorite people to interview for that reason. We talk about him too. I don't have a lot of defensive highlights from him this year, and I would imagine it's because people just aren't throwing his way. I mean, is that fair to say? He's kind of one of those guys you can put on an island that you mentioned? Yeah,
I think that's really what happened this year. I mean, everybody knew what he did. The people that tried to go at him, he took advantage of it, whether he was picking it, breaking it up, or just the guy was in such good coverage that, the ball falls incomplete. I think teams started trying to throw away from him and take him out of the equation. The thing you love about him, he still found ways to affect games, whether that was in the return game, whether that was at receiver, whether that was coming up and making a big tackle, creating a fumble, whatever that might be. And so that's what you love, instead of, being mad that he's not getting tested the way he just found other ways to affect the game, and was a huge player for them in their state run.
Got a handful of early enrollees. Maybe talk about the benefit that can be. Would you take as many of those as you possibly could, if you could, or does a kid have to be pretty squared away?
Yeah, there's so many benefits to being here early, but I think some of it is positionally too, right? I mean, as an offensive lineman, it's going to be difficult for you to come in here and start as a true freshman or play as a true freshman. Does it give you an opportunity to come in here and start training with EA and his staff and get that part of it and get a spring ball? Yes, absolutely. And I think that will pay dividends later. But I think for those skill guys, being able to come in early and get a spring ball in, there's so much more teaching. You're not game planning. You're getting more reps and being able to really take the time to slow down and explain some things. And so spring ball is important from that standpoint. I think it also gives them the ability to come in and get a jump start, academically and then physically, obviously getting in the weight room and start training and kind of seeing what that college training cycle is really about.
Cordell, quarterback. Cardell, okay. You mentioned him being kind of a dual threat guy. You have, Braylon on the roster as well. Mm-hmm. Is this – I'm not going to pigeonhole you into, like, where you're going with quarterback recruiting, but is this kind of the new thing? Is what you need to do nowadays is get those guys who are true dual threats that can use their legs and, nothing against Zach and Davis. They're plenty athletic, but those guys aren't – I don't know if you would dub them as dual threat to maybe the extent that these guys are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we want a combination of guys in our room, guys that are a little bit more pro style, guys that have that ability to be a dual threat guy. The one thing that I will say about Cardell and about BB is they have the ability to move with their feet and do all of those things and create plays that way. But they're still, from a quarterback standpoint, they're still one of those guys that they're still looking to throw first. They're buying time. They're buying, a little bit more space here and there, keeping their eyes downfield. And if it's open, man, they've got the arm to make those things happen. But when things break down, obviously they can make some big plays with their feet.
Yeah, not to look too much into box scores or stats, but, DT has it here. He rushed for, 406 career yards. So not to say that he doesn't. That lends to your point that he's not looking to run. It sounds like he's a guy who is looking to stay in the pocket and throw, but also has the ability to get out if he needs to.
Absolutely. And that's I think everybody would like to have that as a quarterback, right? The ability to buy time, to buy space, to get outside of the pocket, but keep my eyes down the field. Extending plays is when those non-scripted plays are sometimes some of the biggest plays in a game. And so to have the ability to do that and the arm strength to make those things happen, I think everybody would like to have that. You look in the NFL, you see the difference. The guys that are stationary back there, great players. Nobody can take anything away from Tom Brady and some of the others that are like that. But it's not bad to have, Kyler and Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and those guys that can just continue to buy space, buy time, and push that ball down the field when need be.
Any other questions for Coach? All right. Thank you all.
All right. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks,
Y'all
Coach.
have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and hope you get to spend some time with your families. See you all later.
You too, Coach.
Coach, you too.